Marhsall and 12.
No, I'm not 12, I'm 66. This is an amazing gathering, isn't it? I mean, look, we've got George Washington here, and doesn't he look great for 278 years old? And these politicians now, you've got to watch out not just what politicians say, but what they don't say. For example, my good friend and colleague, Delegate Lingenfelter, he told you that the first 5 times he went up in a plane, he didn't come down in the plane. What he didn't tell you is he didn't use a parachute either. I want to let you know that Delegate Tad Greason, who was elected recently, could not be here tonight. He is at a Eagle Scout award ceremony. He worked hard to get that. And, oh, I'm sorry, he's presenting at this ceremony. But this is a profession in which it is very easy to mistake milk or skim milk for cream. And it can even happen to anybody. Like for tonight, Joanne Chase was introducing somebody, talking very nice, ringing out this string of adjectives and intelligent and witty, and I thought, is she talking about you, Bob? And then she got to young and beautiful, and I knew I was going to take a pass on that. And then these little 3x5 cards. I'm often asked, how can you manage to put everything you know on a few 3x5 cards? Well, it's very simple if you don't know a lot. But I do know one thing. I am to be a servant, a watchman on a wall for you, to put my judgment and experience out there on your behalf, not for myself, but for you. And it is very easy to shift that from servant to be a serpent in a pit, waiting to hide and strike you. And that's what some politicians do. And we cannot allow that to happen, because we have a government which comes from the consent of the governed, and our rights come from the Creator in our first document, which is the down payment on liberty in this country. And what did that document say? What did Jefferson talk about? The first right was the right to life, because without life, you can't even do life. So this year I'm introducing a bill that's already introduced, House Bill 1440, and it affirms in a very narrow area legal personhood, because in the Roe v. Wade decision of 1973, Justice Blackmun pretended that the Texas law never recognized per se legal personhood. Even though it had abolished abortion criminally since 1859, they never found it. Well, Justice, we're going to try to put that in our statute books this year. And in the election of 2009, when I was walking around parts of Loudoun County and getting responses from minority Americans, I thought to myself, Mr. Obama, you're in trouble. Now, you won. He won my district. But I had precincts covered, 31 of 35 precincts. I eventually won with 61% because of hard work. Not just manpower, not just money, but manpower and woman power out there, talking to people, undoing the negative campaigns that invariably happen. This door-to-door is how campaigning used to be before 1956, before television took over. But in this brochure that I had, I talked about the penalty that Obamacare had, $25,000 if you don't buy the insurance. Now later he tried to get out of that by claiming, well, that was not part of the bill. That's true, but it's not the whole truth. The penalty of a year in jail and $25,000 was already in the code, the IRS code. He didn't have to worry about that. But really what happened was a lady from Richmond called me up, Donna Holt, the grandmother, and said, Bob, you really need to look at this individual mandate thing of requiring us to have contracts, enter contracts without our consent. I said, Donna, I'll do it. Eventually that became House Bill 10, the Healthcare Freedom Act. I introduced it for one purpose, to set up a roadblock, a direct legal challenge to Mr. Obama on his attempt to compel you to enter a health care contract. And folks, I didn't introduce this to avoid a fight. I wanted a fight. And we need to fight with all the tools that God gives us, with our wits, with our experience, with our reason, and with the Constitution, and stand firm. And if we can't apply our principles all the way across the board, don't sell your principles. Just apply them very narrowly. That's how the Civil Rights Movement eventually won. They didn't give up on the principle and say, some people can ride in the front of the bus and some can't. They said, everybody ride in the back of the bus or the front of the bus or the middle of the bus, but we're not talking about accommodations. We're talking about a bus. Simple thing. They then expanded that principle later. So I intend to do the same thing as I did with House Bill 10 in two areas. If the Environmental Protection Agency decides they're going to implement the Kyoto treaties administratively, my statute, which I introduced, and it's already introduced, says we're going to court just like we did with House Bill 10. You have no authority to implement a treaty on an administrative order. And I expect that President Obama, who perhaps has yet to read the Constitution, much less understand it, will resort to executive orders, or should be executive disorder, with the chaos that he's producing. He won't worry about Congress. He'll think he can do this with an executive order. That's very dangerous. So the second cap and trade bill that I will be dealing with addresses a measure that already passed the House of Representatives, and it deals with the fact that under a House-passed bill, which may pass one of these Christmas tree bills in the lame duck session, should be the lame turkey session, says that the Secretary of Energy is the National Home Building Inspector. Now, folks, I've read the ratification debates. I've read Madison. I've read Elliott's debates. Not all of it, but enough of it to know nobody gave the authority to be a home building inspector to the Secretary of Energy. What this means is if you want to fix your attic or your recreation room, you're going to have to go to Washington to get permission. This is stupid. So again, my second bill says, you do that, we're going to court again.